Hello everyone, this is Andrew with Novus Computers and novuscomputers.com, and today we are going to be looking at another Windows 10 Basics video. And today's video we are going to be looking at the Task Manager in Windows. So the Task Manager is a very helpful utility that can be used for a variety of different tasks. And the way to access the Task Manager, there's a couple of ways to do it. The first and usually easiest way is to simply come down here to an empty space along the taskbar and right-click on your mouse, and you'll see this menu pops up, and the third option up from the bottom here is called Task Manager. Another way you can do this is if you press and hold down the Control and Alt keys on your keyboard and then tap the Delete key, you'll get a menu that pops up and will have several options, and Task Manager will be one of those options. Clicking on that will give you the same exact result. It'll open the Task Manager for you. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Task Manager here. And as you can see, we have a little window pop up called Task Manager. Now, this window obviously does not look all that amazing. And that is because we don't have anything else running at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of drag this over to the side here for now. We'll just leave that running. And I'm going to open up a Microsoft Edge window. And as I do that, you will see that Microsoft Edge has now appeared in this Task Manager list. If I go through and open another window, say Maps, you'll now see that both Maps and Microsoft Edge are both listed. So what's so handy about this? Because a lot of people will say, well, I can just press Alt-Tab, or if you've watched the window management video, you'll see down here that Task View will also give you an option to see each of the different windows. Well, what's handy about this is if I want to, for some reason, if I have Microsoft Edge or a web browser or something, kind of glitch out and wind up freezing up on me. I can't close it out. It won't do anything. It's stuck. If I open up my Task Manager here, I can click on that program that's giving me trouble, and I can click this End Task button. And if I click this End Task button, you will see that immediately Microsoft Edge has disappeared. It's gone. It's been closed down. If I do the same thing with Maps here, it'll give you an even clearer example. It closes it down. This is a helpful way of being able to immediately kill off a process or end a process immediately, and will usually you'll usually be able to do this no matter if the program is stuck, frozen, or otherwise, inoperable. So it's a very, very handy way of being able to close something down and restart, refresh, start from scratch again. One warning or word of advice is that End Task will not ask you to save any work. So if you are in Microsoft Word or have something stuck and you're thinking, oh, well, I'll just hit End Task and go back and save it and then, open up Word again, it will not ask you to save your document. So if you had data and you really want to make sure that you try and save it before clicking End Task, then you'll want to do everything you can to make sure that there isn't some other option available to you to save that data. This is also not the way to normally or regularly close programs out. This is only designed for emergency use where you want to make sure you get the program closed out because, again, it's either frozen or otherwise inoperable. So that may seem like a great thing and all, but is that really all there is to the Task Manager? Well, the answer to that is no. And the reason why we're not really seeing a whole lot more is because we're currently viewing the basic Task Manager. And to view the more advanced Task Manager, we simply need to click this More Details button. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button, and you will see that we now have a much larger window with a lot more information in it. And as you can see up here, there are a number of different tabs available to us now. And I'm going to just go through each of these tabs real quick, one by one. So the first tab we have here is our Processes tab, and that is the current tab that's actually active. And what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of go through each of these columns here real quick. So first off, the Processes tab lists out all of the processes that are running on our computer, very similar to the previous version of the Task Manager, or the basic version that we had just seen. The difference here being is that this not only allows us to see apps, processes, and tasks that we currently have running, but it also allows us to see everything that's running in the background of our system as well. This includes straight regular Windows processes that run pretty much no matter on what type of Windows system you're using, as well as third-party background processes, things like drivers, antivirus utilities. You can see I have Carbonite enabled, so that is also running in the background. And then in here, we actually have apps that are visible on our screen. So if I again open up a copy of Microsoft Edge, you can see it opened up 2 copies for some reason. You can see that appears up in this area again, which again, if I simply click on it and click End Task, it will disappear. So here we have our name column, which this basically just lists out the name of each process and what it, usually a general description of what it is or what it's designed to do. To the column directly next to it, to the right, we have what is listed as CPU, which this is a handy column that allows us to see how much of our processor is being used and by which apps. So as you can see right now, my Carbonite Secure Backup Engine is using about 4% of my overall CPU. This can be handy if you're trying to troubleshoot why your computer is running slowly, as you can use the CPU, memory, and disk options to try and kind of sort out what exactly might be causing your computer to run slowly. I'm not going to get into why each of these would be, pegged at 100% or why, how to fix those issues in this video because that's beyond a little bit beyond the scope of this. But I will kind of go over, exactly how you can use each of these. And the easiest way to do it is simply by clicking on them. And as you see, it will actually sort the list of applications by CPU usage in a descending format. So the programs that are using the most CPU are listed up at the top, and the ones that are using the least are listed down here at the bottom. If I click it again, it will list it in a ascending manner. So least will be listed at the top, and highest will be listed at the bottom. You can do the same for memory and or disk, and it will show you exactly what amount of disk space or disk speed, it'll be using, as well as how much virtual memory you are using. If you're not 100% sure of the difference between disk and memory usage, memory is basically a temporary set of storage modules that allow you to run programs and everything and have everything operate efficiently, whereas disk is actually your hard drive and where you store things like files, photos, and so on. So if we come over here to the name column and simply click, you'll see that it returns us to just sorting everything out by name. Again, we can click on any of these processes and click this End Task button, and that will immediately cause that process to end. So moving on, we're going to jump to our Performance tab really quick here. The Performance tab is actually kind of a handy utility. And the main reason is because it kind of lets you see a graph view, as you can see here, of the different hardware components of your computer. So you can check the CPU usage. As you can see here, mine's kind of pretty steady at about 5% usage right now. Carbonite's doing a little bit of backup in the background, so it's just using a little bit. In some cases, if your computer is running very slowly, you might see this is pegged up here at 100% the entire way through. Memory, again, you can see a graph view as well as a memory consumption bar here. As this fills up towards the right, it will basically indicate that you're running low on virtual memory and you'll either need to close down some programs or you'll need to install some more memory. For disk, you can see the disk usage, and if you have multiple hard disks in your machine, you can actually see the usage for each individual disk. As you can see, my C drive here has a little bit of activity going on. My storage disk and my secondary disks, however, don't have hardly anything going on. They're just sitting there perfectly idle. Your Ethernet, or in some cases, if you're on wireless, it'll be listed out as Wi-Fi. This allows you to see how much network activity is going on at the moment. Um, it also tracks both send and receive, so information your computer is sending out to the network as well as information that's being received into the network. Another handy thing here is it also lists both your IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. So if you happen to be on the phone with somebody and they ask you, what's your IP address? An easy way to find that is by coming into the Task Manager and going to the Performance tab, and then again clicking on either Ethernet or in some cases Wi-Fi, and that IP address will be listed right here. So now that we've looked at that, let's move on to app history. App history is a fairly simple concept. It only works for Windows Store apps at the moment. It does not work for third-party or common applications. Basically, what this allows you to do is it allows you to see both CPU time, network utilization, and so on and so forth, as to basically how long you've used the app on the computer, how much network bandwidth it's used. It's kind of a handy utility for tablets and things like that, because then you can actually see, okay, this app is using up a lot of my data plan, and I don't need that app installed on my system. So then you can go about either removing it or making sure it's not running. The Startup tab is actually another very handy tool or utility, and this will list out all of the third-party applications that start when your computer does or when you sign into Windows. So if your computer tends to be running slowly, you can check this list, and if this list has a lot of different programs in it, you may want to consider disabling some of them, especially ones that you may or may never use. For instance, I have Komodo here, which is my antivirus, so I definitely want to keep that one enabled. But I may not necessarily need this Logitech gaming framework here program enabled. So if I'd want to disable that, I'd simply click on it, and then I come down here and click this disabled button. And as you can see, it's grayed out for me right now. That's because this account is a local account and not an administrative account. However, if you're on an administrative account, then this button will be enabled and you can just click it, and that will prevent the program from starting up the next time you start your computer. Again, you find that there's a lot of items in this list, then that could be a very good indication of why your machine might be running slowly. So finally, let's take a quick gander through the Users, Details, and Services tabs here. Typically, most users will not need to access any of these three tabs, but I will go over them just the same. The Users tab allows you to see processes that are running under your current user account, or if you have more than one user logged in, you can see processes running under their user account as well. You can also see how much memory utilization is being divided between each account, as well as CPU utilization. So if you're on a family computer and you have more than one account logged in, and for some reason you're wondering why everything seems to be running very slowly, you can use this Users tab to see, oh, it's not even my account that's causing the issue, it's so-and-so's account. I need to ask them to log in and close out programs or log off. The Details tab is very, very similar to the Processes tab, except instead of giving you an actual name, it just lists out the actual process name or the program's actual file name on the computer. Again, you don't typically need to be in this area of the Task Manager, especially not when you have a handy, nice Processes tab that explains things much more decently. But it acts pretty much just the same. And finally, the Services tab will show you a list of all the services installed on your computer, as well as their current status, whether they're stopped or running. If you need to start a service, you can simply right-click on the service and click Start. Likewise, if you need to stop a service, you can right-click on it and click Stop. Again, typically you won't necessarily need to be in here too terrible often. However, if somebody is trying to help you troubleshoot your system and they ask you to stop or start a particular service, you can do so from this list here. So that'll do it. One more thing that I just want to touch on before we end this video is the run command, which if we go up here to File, you'll see that there are two different options here. One is Exit, which will obviously close out Task Manager. The other one says Run New Task. So if we click this, this opens up the Run dialog, which looks fairly rudimentary, but it allows us to run pretty much any program that is currently residing on our computer, as long as we know the path of it. So all we have to do is simply type in the program name and the path of it here in this box here. If you don't know the name of the program or path, you can click this Browse button, and that will open up this dialog here, which is just a basic file browser. You can go to and find your program or whatever it is you're trying to run, and be able to click on it. So for instance, if I want to click on this program to run it, I click on it, click open, and then it populates the program's name as well as the path for me. To run that program, you'll just hit OK, and then that will open up the program. So as you can see here, it's just done that for me. If you click cancel, then it will simply close the dialog out and you'll be back to the task manager. So again, you typically won't be needing to utilize that too often. Again, however, some cases you might have somebody who's trying to help you troubleshoot something and they might ask you to run a particular program or paste something into that box, and that is a way to access that run dialog so you can do that. So that is an overview of the Task Manager in Windows 10. If you want to get back to a slightly less daunting version of the Task Manager, you can just click this Fewer Details button. And as you can see, we're right back to the basic view that we were in currently, or previously. So that will do it. Again, this has been Andrew with Novus Computers and novuscomputers.com. That URL is NOVUS dash as in a hyphen or a minus sign, the word computers.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at Novus Computers. If you got any questions or comments or concerns, be sure to leave them in the video below. Also, be sure to like and or subscribe for more. And until next time, again, this has been Andrew with Novus Computers, and thanks for watching.